There is a moment in business and in life where the thing that got you here starts becoming the thing that is holding you back. And that is actually a confronting moment, because the habits you are proud of may be the same habits that are quietly burning you out. The generosity that built your client base may now be the reason your boundaries are weak. And the flexibility that made people love working with you may now be the reason you are overworked and underpaid. The "I'll just do it myself" attitude that helped you survive the early years may now be the very thing preventing your team from growing. The perfectionism that protected your standards may now be bottlenecking the whole business. And this is where business becomes deeply personal, because at some point the question is no longer just what does this business need? The question becomes, who do I need to become to lead the next version of this? And that is why today we're talking about the caterpillar. Not because he is warm and cuddly, he's not. Not because he gives Alice a perfect answer, because he doesn't, but because he asks one of the most important questions in the whole story. Who are you? And if you run a business, lead a team, serve clients, care for a family, or are simply trying to build a life that feels more honest and less exhausting, that question matters, because you can't scale who you used to be.
It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane, turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily.
Welcome to Grit and Grace, where we talk business mindset, well-being, leadership, and the standards that make success sustainable. I'm Donagh, and this is episode 4 of our Alice in Wonderland series. So far we've been down the rabbit hole, learning how to stabilise when life changes the map. We've chased the white rabbit, looking at urgency culture and why busy is not a strategy. And we've stood with the Cheshire Cat, asking whether we actually know where we are going. Today we meet the caterpillar, and this episode is about identity, not the fluffy kind, not a motivational quote on a mug, the real kind. The identity that shows up in your pricing, your boundaries, your standards, your leadership, your team culture, your ability to delegate, your willingness to have the hard conversations, and your capacity to stop running a business like you are still in survival mode. This episode is for anyone who knows deep down that the next level of that business or life will require a different version of them. At the end, I'll give you one practical action and one reflection prompt. So let's get into it. Alice meets the caterpillar after she has already been through a series of confusing and uncomfortable changes. She's grown, she's shrunk, she's cried, she's questioned herself. She has been in rooms where she does not fit. She has followed urgency, she's lost direction. She has tried to make sense of the rules that keep shifting. And then the caterpillar looks at her and asks, "Who are you?" It is not small talk, it is not polite networking. It is a question that stops her. And Alice cannot answer it clearly because she has changed so many times that day. And that is the part that matters, because growth does that. Growth makes you question who you are. It is easy to talk about growth as if it is always exciting. There's more clients, more revenue, bigger opportunities, better systems, more visibility, a stronger team. But growth often starts with discomfort, and it starts with the old identity no longer fitting. You might still be calling yourself just a small business owner, but the decisions on your desk are leadership decisions. You might still be pricing like someone who is grateful to be chosen, when actually you are experienced, valuable, and in demand. You might still be saying yes, like you are trying to prove yourself, when your business is actually begging you to protect capacity. You might still be carrying everything yourself because that is how you've survived so far. But now survival mode has become a ceiling. The caterpillar is not asking Alice for her job title. He is asking her, do you know yourself well enough to choose what comes next? I really want to say this next bit carefully, because I don't want it to sound like blame. Your business is not always a reflection of your skill. Many very skilled people run messy, exhausting, under-profitable businesses. Your business is often a reflection of your standards and your boundaries, your beliefs, and what you have normalized. If you believe you have to be available all the time to be valued, then your calendar will show it. If you believe clients will leave you if you charge properly, your pricing will show it. If you believe no one can do it as well as you, your team structure will show it. If you believe being exhausted proves you care, your body will show it. If you believe asking for help means weakness, your decision-making will show it. And if you believe conflict is dangerous, then your staff culture will show it. And this is not about blame, it is about ownership. Because if some of the pressure of your business is being created by an old identity, that is actually very powerful news. It means that you are not stuck. It means there is something to shift. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen perfectly. And it needs to happen deliberately. The next version of the business usually requires the next version of the owner. And that does not mean becoming someone false. It just means becoming more honest with yourself. So there's a few identities that show up in a business all the time, and you might hear yourself as one of these types, maybe more than one. There's the rescuer, and the rescuer is the person who saves the day. They jump in, they fix, they absorb, they say, don't worry, I'll handle it. And initially people love the rescuer. Clients love them because they go above and beyond. Staff love them because they pick up the slack, and family loves them because they are dependable. But over time, the rescuer teaches everyone else that they do not need to carry their part properly. So in business, the rescuer absorbs scope creep. They work late to cover poor planning. They avoid charging for extras. They fix staff mistakes without addressing the real cause. And they carry emotional responsibility for everyone's comfort. The rescuer does not need more time. The rescuer needs stronger standards. Then there's the prover. The prover is still trying to earn the right to be here. Even after years of experience, the prover underplays their value. They think that, I should be grateful for the work. I don't want to seem too expensive. Who am I to say no? I need to show I'm committed. If I work harder, people will respect me. And the prover is often high-performing, conscientious, and very deeply capable. But the prover can build a business where the pricing does not match the effort, and the owner is quietly resentful because they are still trying to be chosen instead of standing in their expertise. The prover does not need another qualification before they charge properly. The prover needs to believe that value does not require over-explaining. Then there's the controller. The controller cares about the quality, and that's the positive side. The controller also struggles to let go. They say, oh, it's just quicker if I do it myself. No one does it the way I do it. I'll delegate that once things calm down. I can't trust anyone with that. Oh, I just need to check this first. And sometimes, to be fair, the controller has been burnt before. They delegated badly, or someone dropped the ball, or a client complained. So they tightened their grip. But when everything needs the owner's approval, the business cannot breathe. The controller does not need to lower their standards. The controller needs to document them, train them, and inspect without suffocating. Number 4 is the martyr. And the martyr is the one who says, I'm fine, when in truth they are not. They take pride in coping. They carry too much. They do not ask for support until they are at the edge. They feel guilty when they rest. They feel guilty spending money on themselves, and they feel guilty disappointing anyone. And the martyr can be very admired, and people say, oh, I don't know how you do it. But that admiration can become dangerous because it rewards depletion. And the martyr does not need more praise. They need permission to build a business and a life that does not require self-abandonment. So this is where we bring it back to the caterpillar. Alice is changing sizes, and she is trying to figure out how to function in a world where nothing feels stable. And this is a brilliant metaphor for business growth, because when your business grows, the old way of operating often stops working. What used to be manageable becomes messy. When you had 10 clients, informal processes were fine. When you have 50, they become dangerous. When you are solo, doing everything yourself made sense. When you have a team, it actually becomes a bottleneck. When jobs were small, rough pricing might have worked. When the stakes are higher, unclear pricing drains the profit. And when clients are few, saying yes to everyone felt helpful. When capacity is full, though, saying yes to everyone becomes self-sabotage. Growth does not require ambition. Growth requires standards. And standards are what hold the business when your emotions are tired. Standards answer questions before they become drama. They reduce repeated conversations and they protect the team from confusion. They also protect the owner from resentment. The standards protect clients from inconsistent service. And most of all, standards protect the business from being run by moods, emergencies, and fear. A standard is not a vague wish like, oh, we provide great service. It sounds nice, but it doesn't guide behaviour. A standard is, we respond to client inquiries within 2 business days. Or it might be, we provide quotes in writing and clearly state what is included and excluded. It could be, we charge for additional work outside the scope. We do not begin work until deposits, signed terms or required information are received. We take lunch breaks because exhausted people make more mistakes. That is a standard, and it is specific enough to lead behaviour. And once you have standards, you can stop making everything personal. And that's the important part, because without standards, every boundary feels like a confrontation. You're not saying, I personally don't want to help you. You are saying, this is how we work. You're not saying, I am difficult. You're saying, this is the process. You're not saying, I don't care. You are saying, this is what protects quality. Standards are not cold. Standards are care made visible. So the harder part is writing standards is easy. Living them is leadership, because the moment you set a standard, life will test it. A client will ask for an exception. A staff member will keep missing the mark. A supplier will let you down. A family member will expect access to your time because you work for yourself. Your own guilt will start negotiating with you, and that is where identity comes in. The old version of you might say, oh, just this once. The growing version of you says, if I keep making exceptions, I don't have a standard. I have a preference. The old version might say, I'll rest after everything is done. The growing version says, rest is part of my leadership capacity. This is not about becoming rigid. It is about becoming reliable. People can trust you more when they know what to expect from you. Your team can perform better when they know the standards. Clients can relax because they know the process. And you can stop carrying every decision like it is a brand new emotional event. Growth can feel like grief, even good growth, because when you step into a new identity, you often have to let go of old versions of yourself that worked very hard to keep you safe. The rescuer got you love, the prover got you approval, the controller protected your quality, the martyr helped you survive. So when you start changing, it can feel strange. And you might feel guilt when you say no, anxiety when you charge properly, discomfort when you delegate, grief when people preferred the version of you who had no boundaries. And that does not mean you're doing the wrong thing. It just means your nervous system is catching up with your new standards. And this is why growth is not a strategy process. It is a nervous system process. You are teaching yourself, I can disappoint someone and still be safe. I can charge properly and still be valued. I can delegate and still maintain quality. That is deep work. That is identity work. And that is why it changes everything. So let's circle back around to the caterpillar. If he asked you today, who are you? Not your job title, not your role in the family, not the thing you put on a form. What would your business say on your behalf? Would your calendar say you are strategic? Would your pricing say you respect your value? Would your body say you are being cared for? Would your bank account say the model works? Would your decisions say you trust yourself? because who you are is not only what you believe, it is what you repeatedly practice. If you repeatedly practice overgiving, then that becomes your identity. If you repeatedly practice avoidance, that becomes your identity. If you repeatedly practice hard conversations, that becomes an identity. You become what you practice. And that means you can become someone new by practicing something different. Not perfectly, consistently. In a real world, you have built the business on quality, workmanship, and strong relationships. But now every customer wants you personally. Every quote needs your eye. Every problem comes back to you. And the old identity says, this is just how it is. They trust me. The new identity is, I need the business to deliver the trust through systems, not just through my presence. So the standard becomes job checklists, team handovers, written scope, documented quality checks, and introducing clients to the team earlier. And this is how you shift value from you into the business. This applies to every type of business, whether you're in trades, professional, retail, family, community person, it doesn't matter. So write down 3 non-negotiable standards for your business or your life this week. Keep them simple and specific. And then choose one from each area if you like. So a service standard could be, we respond to client inquiries within 2 business days. The money standard could be, all additional work outside scope is quoted and approved before it begins. The well-being or leadership standard could be, I do not make important decisions from exhaustion. I sleep on it and schedule time to review it properly. Once you write them down, choose one place where they need to be communicated, whether it's to the family, the client, your team member, yourself, or turning it into a process. Putting it in a notebook is great, but who's going to see it? It only becomes a standard when it is real and when it is practiced. So the reflection prompt for this week is, what part of my current identity is costing my business, my well-being, or my space? And if you want to go a bit deeper, who would I need to become if I truly believed my time, energy, and expertise were valuable? Sit with that, not as a criticism, but as a possibility. The caterpillar's question is not gentle. Who are you? But maybe that is exactly why it matters, because business will keep asking you that question. Your pricing, your calendar, your clients, your team, your bank account, your body, they will all ask it. And at some point, you have to answer. Not necessarily with words, but certainly with standards. And you cannot scale who you used to be. You cannot lead the next version of your business with the identity that was built only for survival. You don't need to become harder. You just need to become clearer. Clearer about your value, about what you allow, about quality, what quality requires, about your well-being needs, about who you are becoming. Because the next version of the business is not waiting for a perfect plan. The next version of your business is waiting for a braver standard. Until next time, keep your grit and protect your grace.
In the quiet, before the daylight breaks, I'm drawing lines for my own sake. I've carried more than I let on show, still found a way to learn and grow. With steady hands I set the pace, a fierce heart held in gentle space. I won't trade my peace for proof, I won't build a life without a roof. I'll rise, I'll rest, I'll recalibrate, strong enough to do, wise enough to wait. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane, turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily. I won't shrink back to make it easy, I won't stay small to keep things tidy. I'll speak the truth, I'll name my worth, put roots down deep and do the work. And when it's heavy, I won't break, I'll bend with care, then reset my faith. I'll measure growth in a steady rhythm pulling me through. When doubt is loud, I'll still begin. Again and again, I'll choose to win. Not by force, not by fear, by showing up year after year. It's grit and grace, side by side, fire in my chest, calm in my mind. I'll build what lasts, I'll choose my lane. Turn pressure into purpose, paint it again. With grit and grace, I'm free to be all I am, becoming steadily. Grit and grace, I rise, I breathe, I make my place. Grit and grace, side by side,